What's up, guys? What you'll see today is a sort of quick breakdown on scout choppers in Battlefield 4 and their differences from Battlefield 3, because there are quite a few differences associated with them. The first and most obvious being that in Battlefield 4 they are far more agile and far more responsive than they were in Battlefield 3. I mean, you can drop elevations, you can climb elevations, you can switch directions on a dime pretty much compared to what they were in Battlefield 3. And in Battlefield 3 they were pretty agile too. There was nothing wrong with them in that. But in this, you so much as, like, especially in my case, WASD to move the thing around and accelerate, and you even so much as tap the keys and this thing's making quite a movement compared to what Battlefield 3 was. Which is, I guess, sort of better in the purpose of what they were designed for. In fact, I think you can make the case that these actual scout choppers here are even better than the attack helicopters in Battlefield 4. Their agility makes them a lot more dangerous, a lot harder to hit if you're an RPG, and a good pilot will know to use his environment to stay away from potential lock-on angles. And you see I'm flying low in a lot of instances here because the tree line makes me a more difficult target to not only find, but to keep locks on for those trying to hit me. And there's that AA in the back which eventually gets me. But this part here, for the most part, this part in Rush is pretty difficult, because if you so much as climb even the slightest of elevations, that AA will maintain a lock on you. But that is the basic difference from Battlefield 3, is that these are so much more agile, so much more beautiful to operate, at least. And if you look at, because I'll give you my breakdown and I'll explain what I use. The newest thing that they added are the 25mm cannons as your primary weapon, and the alternative to the 7.62 miniguns, and I take full advantage of those 25mm cannons. You can fire them in bursts, and you'll see lots of footage of it in the back. It's effective against light, medium armor, as well as infantry, and you'll even see me, it takes a while, but you'll see me take out an LAV toward the end, because as long as you can keep the LAV from hitting you, you just continually bombard it, and you'll eventually take it out. My secondary weapon I typically use is the laser-guided shot, just because I don't like... there's no point for heat seekers unless you're in an extremely air-dominated style match. And for the most part, anyone who immediately deploys the ECM and knows how to take cover, considering it takes a while for the heat seekers to actually regenerate, will be sort of a nightmare to deal with. The laser guided will let you lock onto things on the ground and take them out, and I didn't have it unlocked, I don't think, in this particular video, but I do use it quite frequently to take out armor on the ground. The countermeasure is always the one I always use. Instead of IR flares, I always use the ECM jam, but in this game I think you could even make the case of using the fire extinguisher, because if you don't have an engineer with you in this, and you aren't very good at staying away from potential threats like the AA, you are paper mache. You will be shredded in seconds. But if you're able to use the fire extinguisher and you don't have an engineer that's willing to repair you and keep you in the skies, because that's another difference. An engineer in this, even just one, is, as long as you're not a terrible pilot flying directly into trouble, a single engineer can keep you in the sky for a long time. But if you don't, having the fire extinguisher helps as well, because it'll knock out the fire and it'll speed up the recovery process when you're flying the chopper, if you don't have another engineer with you, so that helps. But ECM is the one I always use. Upgrades, again, you can use the gyro stabilizer if you aren't able to counter being hit by a stinger, which knocks you off balance. You can use proximity scan if you like to fly low. You can use air radar if you're in a higher, if you're in a map that has a lot of different air threats. But I like to use the belt feeder just because it quickly allows you to reload those 25mm cannons and absolutely rain hell on everyone. The splash damage on them is a lot better than the miniguns as well. The damage outputs, well, it looks like it's better. It might be the same. But those would be my choices, and basically that's it. The choices you have at... Ooh, look at that. The choices you have available are different than they were in Battlefield 3. But the improvements made to the agility on these actual scout choppers is incredible, and I love them. I just finished completely unlocking everything, taking advantage of the double XP. So I plan to be posting quite a few more of these destruction videos with the scout chopper, and I'll even probably post a tutorial on how to fly helicopters if you're completely lost. I do have a Battlefield 3 one, but I plan to upgrade it for 4. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the footage here, and that was basically just the differences between this and the scout choppers in Battlefield 3 and 4, and that was my loadout. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.
Heads up! Enemy sniper, 2 east of your location.